come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Fredum,
Here.
Maras Castillo,
Here.
McDonough,
Here.
McGuire,
Here.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Here.
and Carter.
Here. Thank you very much. Commissioner McDonough, would you please lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance this morning while we all mute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner McDonough. And we have the agenda of the October 5th, 2021 meeting before us for your approval.
So
Your
moved,
motion.
Madam Chair. McGuire.
Thank you. Motion by Thank you. Motion by McGuire, second by Maras Castillo. Are there any comments or questions on our agenda? Then would the clerk please call the roll for us?
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fredum,
Aye.
Maras Castillo,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye. The agenda is passed and we are on to the minutes of the September 28th meeting. Is there a motion and a second?
Move approval.
Reinhardt. Second, Reinhardt.
Thank you, Commissioners McDonough and Reinhardt. Are there any questions, additions, or changes requested for the minutes? There being none, would the clerk please call the roll?
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fredum,
Aye.
Maras Castillo,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye, thank you very much. The minutes have passed. And now, in the tradition of celebrating and recognizing and lifting up our communities, Commissioner Fretham has the special honor of offering a proclamation this morning in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. I'll turn to Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you. Happy to read the proclamation today and introduce our speakers. So with that, whereas on September 17th, 1968, the 90th Congress authorized President Lyndon B. Johnson to issue annually a proclamation designating the week, including September 15th and 16th, as National Hispanic Heritage Week to honor the contributions of Americans who trace their roots to Spain, Mexico, the countries of Central and South America, the Caribbean, and who also have roots in Africa, as well as indigenous communities across all the Americas. And whereas on August 17th, 1988, Congress amended the former resolution authorizing President Ronald Reagan to extend this recognition into an annual month-long celebration from September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month celebrates the achievements of Hispanic Americans in the arts, education, entertainment, government, history, law, literature, medicine, the military, music, politics, science, sports, and other endeavors. And whereas the Hispanic and Latino communities of Ramsey County, the city of St. Paul, and across the region and state of Minnesota have made profound impacts in our society and have contributed to the rich cultural diversity of Ramsey County. And whereas the Hispanic and Latino communities across the nation have resisted oppression, seized opportunities to achieve prosperity, and have preserved sacred traditions which value family, history, nature, and land, as well as food, art, and music, and have consistently contributed to the economy through countless entrepreneurial endeavors, businesses, and have strengthened various labor and industry markets. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners recognizes September 15th through October 15th, 2020 as Hispanic Heritage Month. And be it further proclaimed, the Ramsey County Board of Commissioners encourages all residents of Ramsey County to join in recognizing and celebrating the contributions and the important presence of the Hispanic and Latino communities in Ramsey County. And with that, we have a lot of people on today. Just double checking that I have the right person who's going to be introducing everyone. I think Maria Sarabia, was it?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Fretham. Well, we do have a crew of folks here, and I'm so excited and really pleased that we're doing this today at this moment in history and at this moment in time. For Ramsey County, it's really big. So I didn't know if we wanted to introduce folks, but I just also wanted to say, I've been with Ramsey County for about 4 years, and this is the first time that we've done this in the history that I've been here. And I know that we have Commissioner Ortega and other leaders across this county who've been here for a very long time, and some newer folks. So this is really an important day to acknowledge our history and the contributions we make to the county. And 4 years ago, I could have gone at it alone, but I would have gone quick. And now I've gone in collective, and you can see by the folks in the room that we plan to go further. And so my name is Maria Sarabia. I work in the social services department. And I'm going to introduce himself. Luis Rosario is in the room. Dario Manzur, I believe, is in the room. And if I'm missing folks, I would just encourage y'all to chime in, if that's okay, Madam Chair and Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you so much, Maria. I appreciate it. We also do have Emilio San Giovanni here, and I think that's all of us. I really just wanted to kind of quickly thank you all for this opportunity. I think as I was thinking about this proclamation, I was really reminded of the importance of acknowledging where we are and how far we've come, but also even more than that, acknowledging who's come before us and the work that they have done. I think it's incredibly important for us to be reminded of all that work that has been done that got us here in order to continue moving forward. And with all that being said, I really do want to acknowledge, like Maria said, that we do have our own one and only Commissioner Ortega, who has done such an amazing job in the community and is so recognized by our community in Ramsey County. Being the first Latino commissioner in the state of Minnesota and the first commissioner of color for our own county. And I just did want to uplift that. I also, again, it's an honor being here. I also do want to acknowledge as well that even though this is a great honor having this proclamation, after all, at the end of the day, it's really just words on a paper if they're not followed by actions and continued commitments by all of you commissioners and all of us staff in order to continue partnering with community, being inclusive of our community and hearing them out and letting them lead in the work that we're trying to do. After all, they know the community best and they know what they need. So I urge us to continue that very difficult work that is so fruitful in the end. And lastly, I was for ERG members that September 30th was International Translation Day. And even though this has nothing really to do with Hispanic Heritage Month, I do think it's really important to acknowledge the work that they do in order that, and the help that they provide us connecting with community and those voices be heard, even though English is not their first language. All that being said, again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and thanks for letting us be here for a brief moment.
And thank you so very much. I know that we have a number of members on the line. I appreciate the words that you've spoken, David. Are there others who are about to share with us as well? I want to thank you for being here with us today, Maria, David. Thank you for your words and acknowledgement, not only of, as you say, where we are and where we perceive we are headed, the challenges and opportunities before us, but also of the tall shoulders upon which our communities stand as we recognize those who have gone before, who paved the way, and even our own Commissioner Ortega, whose work looms large. And I know that he is the first Hispanic commissioner, and I also believe the first commissioner of color in the state, at least to my knowledge. And so thank you so very much, Commissioner Ortega. But really the credit goes to a community who, joining us here in Ramsey County, has continued to work to pave its way as residents, as business owners, as a community contributors and that continues to lift us all. So I want to say thank you so much for your being here. I am wanting to check also to see if, okay, I have commissioners on the line who may have comments as well. Commissioner Matis Castillo is first with a hand up. So I will call on you, Commissioner Matis Castillo, and any others who would like to share and acknowledge this morning are welcome. Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the whole team who brought this really important proclamation forward. I think especially over the last 24 months, as we have faced unrest, if we've had COVID, we have really had a lot of conversation about race and racial equity, but it often is a kind of a dichotomy in the United States. It's either you're Black or white. And a lot of our communities of color have felt left out and part of just kind of shoved into this bigger conversation. And so I think this is incredibly important that we are bringing this forward and recognizing all of our communities and that there's, that we have a really big conversation to have. And as David said, and we have much work to do, and that is recognizing all of our communities, because we know that the impacts of COVID have disproportionately hit our Latino and Hispanic community. They have the racial impacts and violence have also impacted our Latino and Hispanic community, as well as police violence. And it often isn't reported and it's not looked at. And so I think this is incredibly important. I'm really glad, Maria, that you have come in a collective to bring this forward and that we can stand with you going forward to say that we see you, we hear you, we are you, and we are in this together. And so thank you all very much. And thanks for celebrating.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your kind words. And same to David, Maria, and Luis. When I think back 25 years ago when I came on the board, it was a much different world. First of all, the staff, there were very few people of color on the staff. And for those that were on the payroll of Ramsey County, believe me, and not just by race, but by culture, by religion, would come into my office just to get acknowledgement, just for folks to know that they were here and that they wanted to congregate and celebrate together. And when I think about where we are today, quite frankly, along with the work of the board, to be honest with you, I mean, it takes the entire board to be consistent, to sustain it over so many years to a point where we are now, where the issue of who works for Ramsey County is no longer a point of discussion. We are very diverse, to be diverse. We have we've, of course, by looking at the board, the women of the county today, I am not only a minority because I'm Hispanic, but these days because I'm a male. And that's a positive thing. That's a good thing. That wasn't the case when I came on board, and it was very lonely. So I'm very happy to say that today I'm working with such a great group of folks, not only on the board, but on the staff. And I'm sure this goes for Tony too, it sort of takes a burden off your shoulders when you have other people helping you do the work that needs to be done. So I just want to say thank you to David and Maria and Luis, who are just symbolic of the many folks that work for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all for your acknowledgement. Hands are clapping and faces are smiling because we are so thankful for your presence here with us. And yes, for the critical mass that you are building together, for the work that you're doing in Ramsey County, on behalf of Ramsey County, in our communities, and for the beacon light that you shine, in fact, across the nation and across the world as you lift up the great work that we have to do of engaging our community to build in every avenue of our work toward the equity. The work is not finished until we are there. And we're not there yet. We thank you so much for your great work and perseverance and for the contributions, of course, of our Hispanic community here to our county and to the world. Once again, thanks for being here for this tribute this morning, all of you in collective. Take care. It's always wonderful to be able to celebrate and recognize and have a bit of discussion about the contribution of our communities. And so I want to thank our staff who have built toward the momentum of these proclamations and celebrations that are ongoing now and expected to continue as they will as a part of our board meetings. Thank you, board members, for your contributions and thoughts and for your support. We'll move on then to our COVID update, calling on County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I will go directly to the chambers so we can get kicked off with public health. And I can't see who's standing up there first. It's usually Incident Commander Laura Anderson.
Thank you, County Manager O'Connor. Yes, you are correct. Laura Anderson is standing at the podium. And I'm going to go ahead and ask my colleague, Mike Lindsay, to go ahead and start us off by taking a peek at the CDC dashboard. We're going to take a look at where Ramsey County is in terms of transmission rates. As you all know, we've been at a high rate of transmission based on our positivity as well as our case rate for several weeks now. At this point, our case rate is 177 cases per 100,000. Positivity is quite high, moving between 5 and 6% of individuals tested. Unfortunately, we remain in good company with the rest of the metro area in terms of positivity and case rate. Mike, I'm going to go ahead and ask you to move directly onto the Ramsey County COVID-19 case dashboard. We'll take a closer look at the data here locally. Many thanks to my colleague Nora Moore for keeping this up to date, along with our colleague Christine Grill in communications. If you take a look at the daily data, you will again continue to see the persistence of that Delta variant here in our community. Consistently, relatively high rates of cases and high rates of positivity among individuals who are seeking testing. Our test rates remain nice and high, which I think is a good thing. We want people, particularly individuals who cannot be vaccinated at this time, to consistently test to make sure they can continue to engage in activities associated with school, work, etc. Mike, if you would go ahead and move on to our vaccine dashboard, let's take a look at vaccines distributed by our health department locally. Ramsey County remains a little bit in stasis, I would say, in terms of number of residents seeking vaccine. 76% of our residents have received at least one shot of an FDA or an approved vaccine at this time. We're still very much focused on neighborhoods on the east side of St. Paul in terms of our vaccine efforts. We have 3 community vaccine sites that are consistently offering vaccine, Consulate of Mexico, Arlington Hills Rec Center, as well as Oxford Rec Center. And we do good work in those settings in terms of offering weekends and evening hours. So happy to report that. Mike, if you would scroll down a bit more, we'll go ahead and take a look at distribution here locally. At this time, we have been able to administer a little bit more than 57,000 doses to our residents. Last week, we gave under 200 doses. I am really looking forward, and we have been actively planning, of course, for third dose for Pfizer. We will be initiating a third dose boosters for individuals who received their 2-shot series of Pfizer at least 6 months ago. That will be initiated this Saturday at our Oxford clinic, October 9th. We're also in preparation with our school partners, getting ready. Hopefully, we'll be able to offer some pediatric vaccine clinics starting sometime between Halloween and Thanksgiving, depending on when we get the okay from the feds to offer vaccine to those pediatric populations. That is the brief update that I have for you with regards to the numbers. Now I will go ahead and pass the mic to our director, Sarah Holly.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, County Manager O'Connor. It's good to be with you this morning. Just a few updates. As Incident Commander Anderson mentioned, we continue to offer first and second doses at our vaccine clinics. It sounds like we gave out approximately 150 incentives last week as we restarted that initiative, which we're very grateful for. Just want to mention that as you've received the COVID-19 mitigation strategies that we shared with our school districts last week, which was really important, that guidance will continue to serve as just that, overarching guide for our schools, our families and staff. So we're grateful for that. Big thank you to William Moore for getting that information out to our school partners. As I've mentioned in the past, Public Health is continuing to partner with RESERT and the EAC Healthcare Committee to move forward with our Trusted Community Connector and Messenger initiative. And so because of that RESERT RBA that was approved here, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, we are beginning that process to look at how we can leverage those partnerships that we started back in June of 2020 to continue getting information out to our communities and connecting people to resources, particularly through our vaccine sites. And so we're looking forward to restarting some of that work very soon here and continuing to leverage the expertise and wisdom of our EAC Healthcare Committee members who, I just want to mention that this is also the Trusted Messenger, a recommendation of that committee. So we're lifting that up with Public Health as a sponsor of that. Lastly, Public Health, of course, as I've mentioned in the past, is working to sustain our COVID-19 response. We have a group of individuals teaming up with Incident Commander Anderson to continue to look at how we sustain our efforts, both from a recovery standpoint and resilience standpoint. So we're continuing to look at where we can dedicate resources and also continue to provide, things like essential services. We have our school health branch. We have a very close relationship with communications. Shout out to that team for all their dedication and time to getting messaging out very quickly into community. It's so important. And of course, we'll continue to focus on advancing race and health equity through our efforts. So thank you for having us this morning, as always. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ogawa. Thank you.
Chair Carter, Commissioners, County Manager O'Connor, nice to be here. They thought that it might be good for me to comment just briefly a little bit on the most recent news around Merck's antiviral treatment associated with early disease. I was able to take a look at that information. It's a good study. I want to caution individuals, though, it was a very small study. There were only about 775 people who were followed. There were individuals who were at high risk for complications, hospitalization, and deaths associated with COVID infection. They received the medication early in the course of their disease. 14% of the individuals who received placebo or non-active drug were hospitalized and or there were some deaths in that group. The group that received the antiviral drug, 7% of individuals were hospitalized in that group. That's where the 50% reduction is being talked about. Again, I want to caution because this is important and we're continuing to work on treatments for COVID. But as a public health professional, I have to point out that vaccine still has a 90% or 95% ability to prevent hospitalization and death. And while this medication has been studied in a small number, there were still a 7% individuals who ended up in the hospital. So it's encouraging, and we have to keep in mind that we have lots of options, and we continue to work on those options to help prevent hospitalizations and deaths associated with this very, still dangerous and easily transmitted virus. So I think I will now turn it back over to County Manager O'Connor, and we are all available for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Ogawa. I'll just end, commissioners, by adding that we're watching carefully as places like New York have rolled out the first vaccine mandates on a large scale in schools to see the impact that that's had. There's been some initially promising results in terms of vaccination upticks among teachers and administrative leaders within the district. Every one of those lessons continues to help as we shape our path toward November 1st. We do at times get questions from employees. Are we staying on a November 1st date? The answer is yes. The notification is out. That is the path that we are on. And so I'll continue to reinforce it here. I have a memo late last week from the implementation team leading the implementation side. So more details to come as we move through the month of October, just so you're staying abreast of the work. Happy to take questions on any topics, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the various updates. We do appreciate them, and to understand where we are in terms of our COVID response and update. I'm looking for questions from commissioners. I see no hands raised I'm sorry, Commissioner Ortega, your hand is raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I have a general question. And I'm just from hearing from folks in the community and that ask me questions that I can't answer. When we talk about this pill for Merck, for example, I'm wondering in terms of, I guess my question is because, you know, folks bring up the fact that it's worrisome to them that that the FDA or whoever is not fully vetting some of these medications, that they're taking shortcuts. And it seems that that's becoming more, I hear that more and more across the board, whether it's the booster, whether it's this pill. And it concerns me that might become a barrier to folks taking this. And I'm talking about folks that are already vaccinated, that are bringing this issue up. So I don't know quite what I'm asking, except that it seems concerning to me that it's becoming more of a chorus in terms of that argument.
Chair Carter, Commissioner Ortega, actually, I would like to comment a little bit on that. Similar to what I mentioned, I'm very cautious about the information that's coming out about this study and this medication. The medication does not have another approval currently. It does utilize a different mechanism of action than other antivirals that we have. The other issue, and I'm just sharing and being completely honest, Merck has not released this data to be reviewed by outside individuals yet. So it has not been peer reviewed. The medication, and so as healthcare providers, we take this data very cautiously. I might learn things from regular media, but we don't usually change practice based on just data from media. And so I do think that it's important for us to keep monitoring these things and carefully review the data, allow the FDA and the CDC to review the data by peers, and then really wait for the data to be looked at directly. So I share your caution, which again is one of the reasons why we thought it was important for us to discuss that today.
Mm-hmm. Well, just one last comment. Thank you, Doctor. I'm just saying because I sure don't want Ramsey County to lose credibility as we move forward. And, you know, if we, for example, if we start distributing either the boost or whatever, then people assume or say you're validating this. And for some, and I'm talking about folks that, you know, have been vaccinated, they're educated, they read the science, they're just as well-versed as I am or better, because I can't answer some of the questions. But for me, it's an issue of, I want to make sure Ramsey County doesn't lose credibility as we move forward, because hopefully we'll be done with this in in the short term, but you never know how much we have to move, do we go another year with dealing with this, and that after a while, folks start questioning our credibility. And that's why I keep raising these issues.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair,
Thank you. Thank
Go
you.
ahead, County Manager.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ortega, I appreciate the comment and the broader piece. And I think if, for those who followed the different panels on the FDA rollout related to the booster shot and some of the back and forth that's occurred, I think those questions are extremely legitimate at this point in time. I think what we are trying to do is remain consistent with the federal and state guidance as it comes down. And this time it got messy, and I'm the first to acknowledge that alongside you and everybody else. I think the moment we break from it becomes a moment where then it's unclear how we are guiding our work forward. And so we'll continue to follow that guidance, but in moments like this, it gets extremely confusing. And I thank you for raising it today.
Thank you also.
Tony, you went on mute.
Well, Madam Chair, quick.
Thank you. And so with appreciation for the update once again, we will move on beyond this agenda item into our administrative items. Before we do so, I'll just ask for a very brief moment of meditation and silence. These are dire times, and even as we normalize in our response and work to build back, we continue to acknowledge much loss, pain, sacrifice that has happened over this past year and a half or more. I thank you very much for that moment of silence. County Manager O'Connor, I should have checked back just in case there were any closures that you needed to make in the COVID update.
No, Madam Chair, we're good to go. Thank you.
Excellent. So we are moving on then to the administrative items, but before we do so, I would ask to amend the administrative agenda today with an item number 8 before we move the administrative items. The reason for the request is to add number 8 at the advice of our council, which would be to vote to hold a closed meeting to consider labor negotiations. We have on our agenda a meeting via Zoom today at 1:30 p.m. for that purpose. And again, at the updated advice of our counsel, Attorney Clark, who is on the line, we are requesting to amend today's administrative agenda to add item number 8, to vote to hold a closed meeting to consider labor negotiations at 1:30 today via a closed Zoom meeting. So with that, and of course with our attorney here, we can ask additional questions about that should they be needed. But I would ask Commissioner McDonough if you would consider requesting the administrative items with that amendment to add number 8. Thank you. Call on Commissioner McDonough for that purpose.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. And I'm not sure as far as procedure, do we have to have a motion to amend the agenda to add it? I believe we do. And if we do, I would move to add item 8, as you stated, to hold a closed meeting to discuss labor negotiations.
Second.
Thank
So
you.
this is for reconsideration of the agenda, correct?
We have not yet voted on the agenda. Commissioner
To
McDonough.
We did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is to amend
Thank you.
the approved agenda to add item number 8.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So yes, It is to amend the agenda on which we voted at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. So there was a motion, and I believe Commissioner Matas Castillo seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? And in fact, why don't I, lacking questions, which I see no hands for, why don't I just ask Attorney Clark to make a brief comment about this change and amendment to our agenda? Attorney Clark, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we don't have it before us yet. Could we just vote on the amended agenda and then have the comment? We still have to approve an agenda.
I understand that. And so the
Okay.
motion is to amend the agenda. We are voting on that motion right now. And I'm asking Attorney Clark to make a comment on that question in particular. Attorney Clark?
Thank you, Chair Carter and everyone. I want to first point out I'm wearing my Ujama Place hoodie today. So the breakfast is on Thursday. I hope you all attend. Commissioner Carter, you stated the issue perfectly fine. The statute for the open meeting law from what you might be more used to, and it requires a public vote by the body to close the meeting and a statement of the time and place of the meeting, which you've done here. So it's appropriate.
Tony, you're on mute.
Thank you. I don't see any further questions on that item, and we do have the vote on the amendment to the agenda before us. And so I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll on the amendment to the agenda.
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Matas Castillo,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye, thank you very much. And now, Commissioner McDonough, I'll turn it back over to you for the administrative items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would move item number 4, grant awards from the Metropolitan Council for Legacy Amendment Parks and Trails Fund projects. Item number 5, access and maintenance agreement for Rice Creek Stormwater Treatment Ponds and the Rice Creek Regional Trail Corridor. Item number 6, funding commitment for the development phase of the Metro Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit Project. Item number 7. Item number 7. Item number 7, capital grant agreement with Metropolitan Council and Ramsey County for the project development phase of the Metro Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit Project.
Paul.
Item number 8, to hold a closed session to discuss labor negotiations.
Thank you very much, Commissioner McDonough. There's a motion. Is there a second on all of the items except for number 6 and 7, which were pulled?
Second.
Thank you very much. There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Will the clerk please call the roll?
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Matas Castillo,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye. Thank you very much. Those items have passed, and we're back to number 6, which is the funding commitment for the development phase of the Metro Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit Project. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I did pull items number 6 and 7 because they are both about the Purple Line. I'm going to make my comments on both. And then as we get to the second one, I will move that as well. So first of all, I'm moving the funding commitment for the development phase of the Metro Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit Project, and would like to speak to that once we have a second.
And There is a second. Thank you. Motion and second. Back to Commissioner
Thank you.
Reinhardt.
I am so excited about today, and I have comments about the actual project, but I want to start out with a little bit of history here. In 1997, then Washington County Commissioner Mary Hauser asked to meet with me in downtown St. Paul in a little downtown White Bear Lake in a little coffee shop to talk about this concept of transit in the East Metro, which of course was non-existent at that point and has really struggled to keep up with the West Metro as far as our needs. And it's not about a competition of who gets more transit, it's to have a regional transit system. And so we started that little conversation. In 1998, we called people together, had discussions, and by the end of 1998, Rush Line had been formed. I want to, and I need to point out that Rush Line, now the purple line is from St. Paul to White Bear Lake. Rush Line actually started out and was named for the fact that its terminus was Rush City. We did expand that, and so now it is an 80-mile corridor that goes from St. Paul to Hinckley. And the communities and partnerships along the way are so incredibly important. I remember when we were talking to folks about the Ramsey Regional Rail Authority's right-of-way, the Bruce Vento Trail, and wanting to make sure that people understood from the very beginning that trail and rail or transit would coexist there, and there is plenty of room to do so. And wanting to put up signs that let people know what this was. It was the neighborhood along the way that designed those signs, that decided what was going to be put on those signs, and they were installed because they were not necessarily happy about this, because when something's a trail, they think that it's going to go away. And to this day, it is not going away. And so our commitment to having the trail and transit coexist and to have it be safe and in alignment with what we were trying to do from the beginning, that has never changed. I think also you look at along the line, all of the things that have changed from St. Paul on the east side to coming up through Maplewood. The changes in those number of years has been pretty incredible. And I should point out that at the time, some of the neighbors along the line said, so how long before this is actually going to be something? And I said, probably about 30 years. And they thought, yeah, right, 30 years. And guess what? By the time this is built, it will be pretty close to 30 years from the time it was first discussed. Anyhow, I look at the changes that took place. Again, Maplewood, all of the hospitals and the things that have grown there, the corridor. I mean, if you went from one end of this corridor to the other, you wouldn't recognize it. It has changed. Change is the one constant that we all have in life. And I believe for the better. Going up into the White Bear Lake area. This is where I live. And the west side of Highway 61, from actually before City Hall to all the way up to the Lakeshore Players and the White Bear Center for the Arts on that side of Highway 61. Most of that didn't exist. There is a pretty famous ice cream shop that's along the way. I remember taking my kids there, and now I take my grandkids there. But I'll tell you what, when I took my kids there, it was a muddy parking lot. It wasn't even paved there. And so things have changed. And again, by the looks of the lines and all of the activity all along that corridor right now, it's been something that has been a very positive change for all involved. So change happens. It just does. community cultures along the way don't change if you are committed to that spirit in the community. So I wanted to make sure that people understood how long this of the community input along the way, how that has changed things that were originally thought, well, maybe this is what would work best. From the station stops to the type of vehicles. I'm excited about the fact that it's electric vehicles. And I'm talking so much today because this is a transition. And it's not that the communities in the partnership, that Rush Line Corridor Task Force, it's not going away. We're still participating, but this is a momentous occasion when this corridor is transitioning to the Metropolitan Council, who will work with the capital, federal capital funds. So just to make sure that I get all of the most important dates and timeline here, it's again, a very exciting time, and I appreciate Commissioner Matas Castillo wearing purple to celebrate the purple line. And I have purple on too, you just probably can't see it. But anyway, the project obviously is a vital link for residents, workers, and businesses in the East Metro. And we have many supporters along the way, from businesses to individuals to nonprofits to environmental groups. It's a 15-mile route. So of Rush Line, this is 15 miles out of the 80 miles that is actually Rush Line. It includes St. Paul. The 15-mile corridor includes St. Paul, Maplewood, Vanna Heights, Gem Lake, White Bear Township, and White Bear Lake. This commitment today will allow the Metropolitan Council to seek entry into the project development phase of the Federal Capital Investment Grants Program. The federal program is expected to provide about approximately 50% of the capital cost of the project. Based on today's estimated cost and ridership, financial plan, environmental and congestion relief benefits, and impacts on land use and economic development, the Purple Line project is expected to qualify for the program and be competitive with other projects around the country for funding. And I think that's very important. This is highly, highly competitive. And if we don't meet those standards, and so far, I mean, with the environmental assessment and so forth, we have met those standards. And it is constantly being updated through COVID, through all of these things. This is not something that is a shot in time and we don't do any more analysis. It is constant analysis as it moves forward. And believe me, the federal government would not fund this unless all of those things lined up, because there are a lot of people, a lot of areas of the country that would like to have these funds. And so I think to me, that's very important to note, because there's information out there that this data is old. The initial data was collected at a certain time, but it's continuous, so that we make sure that we are keeping up with what is happening out there. We want to thank our partners, the corridor municipalities, the Metropolitan Council, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, for their partnership on this project that has allowed us to reach this key milestone today. We have the full confidence in the Metropolitan Council, which will soon take over the leadership of the project, while Ramsey County will remain involved in all aspects of the project. They have the experience, the expertise to lead the final design and construction for the project, and ultimately operate the Purple Line as part of the regional metro system. We also want to thank thousands of members of the public who have participated in the project, providing their input, participating in meetings and community engagement events. The public's involvement has made the Rush Line a better project. And I, again, want something that is so needed for the reasons that I've already cited here, or really has a lot of questions about it. That has made the project better, whether you're for or against something. Respectful conversation and getting data, making sure that we're making the changes that make the most sense as we're going through this project is so important. And so I think that getting the information out there, making changes as we felt was appropriate, has really brought us to this day. So with that, Madam Chair, I am incredibly excited to answer questions, but to move this forward today. Thank you. Thank you for all the support from this board, from previous boards, but this has been quite a ride. It's not done yet. As my grandson said, he said, "Are you telling me that I'll be 16 or 17 by the time I can ride this?" And I said, "Yes." He's going, "Okay, well, he's now almost 12, so I guess he's getting closer to that." But this having electric buses so that people can age in place, that they can get to the things and enjoy quality of life, getting to doctor's appointments. There's 21 medical facilities along this 15-mile corridor. And so, again, I am excited. So I'm going to stop talking so that people can ask questions or make comments. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't know that you can. We're reading your excitement, appreciating it, and thankful for your illustration of the history and the effort that has gone into making this a reality, certainly over the decades that you have participated and worked on the Rush Line Corridor Committee in order to bring this about. Commissioner Reinhardt, I want to say a heartfelt thank you on behalf of this board, because we know the spirit of community that has ushered this forward, but we also know that there were times when that spirit needed to be motivated. You have been an ongoing and continual motivation in that spirit of collaboration and work to welcome this actuality. So thank you so very, very much. Of course, members of the board have all engaged and leaned forward to assist, to help to move this forward. You've been that ongoing and continual thread on that committee, and thank you for your work. I do see Commissioner Fretham has her hand up.
Well, first, I just want to thank Commissioner Reinhardt for her efforts over the last decades to move this forward, because it really is such an important piece of infrastructure for our area, and not just her district, but the northern Ramsey County suburbs in general, that it provides an anchor for us to expand access throughout Ramsey County for people who want to use public transit. And I know there are folks out there that are concerned about, planning, but planning isn't done yet. This is continuing. We will make sure this project is right size, but bus rapid transit, I really feel like, is the future. It is a smart investment. It allows us to make those modifications based on ridership to increase or decrease over time based on need. And it provides the infrastructure in place to allow for future expansions in ways that cobble together smaller systems or just community systems or just park and rides don't provide. So your efforts on this, I'm so excited. I'm so grateful that you have done all the heavy lifting, and that my communities will benefit greatly, and that it'll provide an opportunity to have a full network of public transit. So wherever you live in Ramsey County, wherever you work in Ramsey County, you should be able to get there without a vehicle. Because that really is transportation of the future. So thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt, and for your efforts and your ongoing engagement, and for this project. I'm so thrilled that it is coming to our community. And I know I've spoken to people that have concerns about the size and scope, but just to acknowledge that the idea of bus rapid transit, that's here to stay. The number of buses that can change based on need, but for now, like this is the critical piece for those who care about expanding public transit access and having transit systems that aren't completely car dependent. This is the way to do it. So thank you, and I'm so thrilled to support this.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Reinhardt, you have commented on items number 6 and 7. I believe we had moved 6. Is that correct? And so we will take the vote on 6 and then bring 7 forward as well. Are there any additional comments? Without such, would the clerk please call the roll on item number 6?
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Matas Castillo,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye, and congratulations to us all as we've moved number 6 forward. And we are on then to number 7, which is the capital grant agreement with Metropolitan Council in Ramsey County for the project development phase of the Metro Purple Line Bus Rapid Transit Project. Commissioner
So
Reinhardt.
moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thank you. There's motion. There is a second. And I believe we've had our discussion. Looking to confirm that we have. Would the clerk please call the roll?
McDonough,
Aye.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Matas Castillo,
Aye.
and Carter.
Aye. Thank you very much. That motion has passed, and we have dispensed with our administrative agenda. Thank you very much. We have a legislative update on our agenda today. I'll call in Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to let you all know, the legislative team needs to meet once a week. Our team is working really hard to get our platform in order. And there's going to be a workshop next week on that. And then also we have a Ramsey County delegation meeting next Thursday that's October 14th in the afternoon at noon with our Ramsey County delegation, our legislative members. So I hope that people can make that. So with that, just thanks to everyone for all their work on this. So I'll just call out Commissioner Matas Castillo, our Vice Chair, and then Jenna Rourke and Melissa Finnegan, who are doing so much work, and then our legislative team of lobbyists too. So thank you.
Thank you all for your preparations, and we are looking forward then to our upcoming delegation meeting on October 14th in the afternoon. Are there any questions for Commissioner McGuire? Thank you then. I'll go back to County Manager O'Connor for County Connections.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I only have one update today. It's actually to go back briefly to the Purple Line topic. I want to acknowledge the staff who've been working very hard with Met Council staff behind the scenes over many months to get to the final agreement that we could put in front of you today. I want to acknowledge them for that work. It often happens in those like dark moments of quiet where no one knows what's going on, but ensuring that the interests of the county are protected and met in the agreement, as well as the interests of the region being advanced to build a multimodal system is no small feat. And I will stand with that being. Thank you today, Madam Chair.
And thank you so very much. We truly do appreciate all of the efforts of staff to catch the nuances of agreements that need to happen and to ensure that our best protected. Thank you for underscoring that effort. I'm going to move then into our outside board and committee reports, and we will begin that with Commissioner McGuire again. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. It was a busy week. I was excited. I had my NACO orientation where I learned about all the amazing things that NACO's doing and how we can all work together and how we can maximize those opportunities that we'll all have to be a more significant part of our National Association of Counties. So that was good. MELSA had our regional library system board had our board meeting, and we're doing strategic planning with that board. And so that's exciting. And I'll just say that AMC, our Association of Minnesota Counties at our state level, is having our District 10 meeting next Friday, October 15th. And they've been doing some great bridging divides work. They did that last week. They had a session on how we can come together So lots of work going on at our county and state and federal levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuire, for all of the work that you're doing, in particular with your new responsibilities with the National Association of Counties as its second vice chair. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to just quickly give a shout out to Provincial House. I made a visit last week, spent an hour at Provincial House and the interfaith staff, and they have talked with residents and staff, and they are doing such a fantastic job. It really is a model. Of course, having that campus, that facility on St. Kate's makes a big difference for the kids. So I just wanted to acknowledge their good work. I also met with members of the West Side community to speak about having moving forward in having town meetings to look at how what they see in our repurposing the ice hockey arena in West St. Paul, which is part in West Side, which is part of our plan, and that was very good. And we're going to have a lot of Mark McCabe and his staff will very happy with the community in West Side being very active in and wanting to participate. It speaks to the credibility of Ramsey County because we participated with them at sports facilities at Humboldt High School in the past, and the baseball field and neighborhood house. The county has played a role in all of those, and they've acknowledged that. And again, speaks to the county's credibility of getting things done. So now we're looking at the ice arena as part of our plan that we've been speaking about for I don't know how long. But in any event, those are my two. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the updates. Appreciate it. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, I'm glad that County Manager O'Connor gave a shout out to staff for Rush Line, Purple Line, because I have to tell you, Andy Gitzloff has been an amazing lead staff person, Frank Ellercon, and others as well within Mike Rogers before that, and Brian Isaacson. There are a lot of people that have been involved in Rush Line along the way and working through some difficult times. And I actually want to give a shout out also to Commissioner McDonough. There were times when I was kind of at my wit's end, and he would be there to say, okay, you know, this can work. And so thank you, a special thank you to you. And as I said, all of the board members have been incredibly helpful and working through a lot of very difficult issues and concerns. So it's been a group effort, that's for sure. A couple of the things that I wanted to mention, the Minnesota Geospatial Advisory Committee, MNGAC is what we call ourselves. The new appointments were made. It's a gubernatorial appointment. So we came back together. We meet quarterly and really talk about the issues that surround, and it's about mapping, but it's so much more, because when we look at all of the changes that we're trying to make, and whether it's in infrastructure or it's in a cultural understanding, the mapping gives us a pathway. It shows us where we can make changes, and the how is up to us, obviously, but it's something we take for granted, and it's so important to every decision that we make. So I'm really pleased to be a part of MNGAC. Ramsey County Extension Committee met and of course talked a little bit about the Farm Family of the Year, and I know that Commissioner Fretham was on that call as well, so I will let her speak to that. And we did have a joint library board and county with county commissioners, Matas Castillo and Carter and myself. And really, I feel like we have made incredible progress there, and I am looking forward to the executive director for the library system being hopefully relatively soon. We're working through all of that, but really good communication and knowing that we are totally in alignment with our goals and residents first. And once that, we can work out the rest. And finally, I'm going to do something that's a little bit different here, because we had a proclamation today about Hispanic Month, National Hispanic Month. And my husband, as many of you know, is very much into old TV and movies. And one of the shows that he loves to watch is the Dick Van Dyke Show, which is 50 years old. And he said to me, this one, Victoria, sit down, you've got to see this one. It's really a good one. And it was about, Dick Van Dyke Show, I do love it. But it really just struck home with me because it was about an award for the show that he wrote for, award for cultural understanding. And I'm not going to go into everything about it, but at the end, he made a statement that wouldn't it be wonderful when we get to the point where we don't give awards for cultural understanding because it's just the way we do our lives every single day. There's not a reason for an award for it because it becomes part of our daily life. And obviously what struck me about that was how important that is, and that was 50 years ago. We've come part way. I can't even say a long ways because we haven't. But we're moving forward, and I am really proud of Ramsey County for all the work that we are doing to make cultural understanding just a part of our normal life. Equality, equity are not the same. Equity is about access to all of the same, to opportunities, to education, to jobs, to transit, to whatever it is. And that's, I think, the important difference there. So I wanted to share that with you. As you can tell, I'm kind of animated today because I'm very excited about everything that's going on, but I wanted to share that with you, especially with the proclamation that we had earlier. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, and thank you for the sharing as well, Commissioner Reinhardt. Commissioner Fretham.
Yes, so Community Action Partnership of Ramsey and Washington County, we have been engaging in some board development work through an ad hoc committee, which I'm chairing, and we've had multiple meetings in the last week regarding the results of our third-party consultants assessment. So working through the results of the feedback from current board members and the consultants' recommendations and planning a strategy forward for board improvement. So that's taken up quite a bit of time. As mentioned by Commissioner Reinhardt, we did have a Ramsey County Extension meeting. I thought it was really interesting that once again, they have a lot of interest in the Master Gardener program. And once again, the cohort is significantly younger than has been in the past. So seeing a lot of interest, perhaps with COVID and being home more, with more engagement in the ground and in our environment. So that's very exciting. Finally, I have been getting a lot of feedback on the proposed changes to the parks ordinance. Public engagement just started in July and August and is ongoing. We've been responding to folks, but I've also just set up some office hours for people that have questions about the process and how to provide feedback and an opportunity to share their feedback with me. So I'll have some virtual office hours on October 23rd and 26th prior to our board workshop, and letting folks know that there is continued opportunity to provide feedback. And after the workshop, there is expected to be a 5-week public comment period. So making sure people are connected to that. So just wanting to make sure folks know that we but that is not the extent of the public engagement opportunity. Folks still can contribute to that process. And as a board, we still haven't even had a workshop on what is being proposed. So as the parks team are going through the feedback received and editing and modifying and revising their proposal, we'll see what comes to us in early November. So just making sure folks know that this process isn't complete. We didn't vote on it today and we aren't voting on it for a couple of months at least, but letting folks know that there is still an opportunity and their feedback is being heard. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for your chairmanship of the important work at community action programs of Ramsey and Washington County and the information you're sharing about our parks ordinance as well. Going on then to Commissioner Matis Castillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of updates. I was able to attend the Payne Phelan District Council annual meeting this past week. It was a great virtual event with a silent auction and to raise funds for their work in the community. And I'm even wearing my earrings that I purchased on the silent auction, really handmade from the American Indian Community Center. So nice work there in the community. And you can probably tell I have a different background than normal, and it's because I am actually traveled. I'm in Nashville for the International Economic Development Conference, which is being held here. I will say they're following very good COVID protocols. Everyone was required to come with their negative COVID test, and people are wearing masks, so it feels pretty good. And I'll share more details next week about the remainder of this conference. And then last, I wanted to give a shout out because we haven't talked about it a lot, but it is election time and we have early voting going on in Ramsey County. And this is a year that, you know, lots of folks aren't paying attention, but complacency around elections is really where things can go badly. So we want people to get engaged and to vote. And we know that you can order an absentee ballot online from our site if you want to vote from home, or you can go in person right now to the Plato office throughout the day. And then additional early voting sites will start in October 26th. So I just wanted to give a little plug for folks to get out and vote. Some important things on the ballot this year. We have school board members that are up for election. We've got mayors up for election, and in St. Paul, there's some ballot initiatives. So this is a really important time for folks to get out and vote and cast your ballot. And wanted to give a shout out to our whole elections team that work all the time, and they don't get a lot of praise until right November, the second week of November. But they've been working already to put this in place, and so just wanted to remind people to get out and vote.
Thank you very, very much for that update, and particularly for the encouragement for all of us to get out and vote in an important election year, as always, and early, if at all possible. Thank you. Want to turn then to Commissioner McDonough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No report today.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonough. And then for my part, I would take it on to pass at this point in time, wanting to share also our library small work group meeting and the positive advances from that meeting, and looking forward to updating you all with respect to the advancement of our work to hire the director and to continue our collaborative efforts together. I will turn now to wanting to adjourn our meeting, but prior to doing so, just to note that following the county board meeting, we have an immediate regional rail authority meeting. Commissioner McDonough will be chairing virtually on this link. I believe it is at noon, I'm checking with the county manager, that we will have our Ramsey County Board lunch and learn on the topic of racial equity, request for board action tool. And that will be via Zoom. Checking that time.
Yeah, we're scheduled for 11:30.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That will be at 11:30. We have our lunch and learn on the topic of racial equity, request for board action tool, and it will be accessible to the public via Zoom as well. posted on our site. And then we have a 1:30 closed meeting on which we just voted. It will be closed to the public on the purpose of labor negotiation strategy. So that is
Madam
our
Chair,
day.
I
Yes.
want to clarify, Commissioner Ortega will be chairing the Regional Rail Authority.
Oh, did I put that on you today? I apologize.
You did,
Commissioner-
but I'm throwing it right back to Commissioner Ortega. He's carried that
All right.
heavy load on his
Okay.
shoulders, and he's going to continue to do that.
My apologies, Commissioner Ortega. Yes, absolutely. That will be Commissioner Ortega chairing our Regional Rail Authority meeting immediately afterward. Thanks for the correction. We are ready to close then. And without further comment, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Good meeting.